The war had already rewritten the skies of Christophsis 100 times over, but nothing like this had ever happened before. Blue ion fire from separatist cannons streaked across the crystalline skyline, scattering against Republic gunships that weaved through narrow urban corridors. Clone troopers held defensive lines between fractured structures, their armor reflecting the fractured light of the planet like shattered glass. It was chaos, familiar and relentless. And then the sky tore open. It wasn't hyperspace. Ahsoka Tano knew the difference instantly. Hyperspace transitions had a rhythm, a fluid, almost natural distortion. This was violent, jagged, wrong, a wound in reality itself. Ahsoka stood atop a crumbling tower, her dual lightsabers humming at her sides as she stared upward. The Force rippled, not like a current, but like something resisting intrusion. "Sky Guy," she called into her comm, her voice tight. "You seeing this?" Anakin's reply came through static and tension. "I see it. That's not ours." Lightning. No, not lightning. Energy, raw and structured, spilled from the tear. And then something massive emerged. At first, Ahsoka thought it was a capital ship, falling apart mid-entry. Then it moved, a towering machine, metal, angular, impossibly large, descended through the rupture, its silhouette blotting out the battlefield below. It landed with a seismic impact that shattered the street beneath it, sending shockwaves through clone and droid lines alike. Then another followed, and another. Within seconds, 5 colossal war machines stood in the middle of the battlefield, each one dwarfing Republic walkers, each one radiating a presence that felt deliberate, alive. "What are those things?" a clone trooper muttered nearby. Ahsoka didn't answer because the Force wasn't giving her clarity. It was giving her silence. The first shot came without warning. A beam of concentrated energy lanced from one of the machines, slicing through an entire column of advancing battle droids, not disabling them, erasing them. The explosion that followed wasn't chaotic, like blaster fire. It was precise, controlled, efficient. The battlefield froze. Then the machines advanced. Their steps were thunder, each movement calculated, weapons rotated with mechanical grace, locking onto targets faster than any droid or clone could react. Separatist forces tried to regroup. AAT tanks pivoted, opening fire. The shots hit, but barely mattered. An armor designed for a different kind of war absorbed the impacts with minimal response. The machines answered. Within minutes, what had been a stalemate collapsed into annihilation. Droids fell in waves, entire formations erased before they could adapt. Republic forces caught in the crossfire were spared only by chance or distance. Ahsoka ignited her sabers. "Everyone fall back," she shouted. "This isn't our fight anymore." But even as she said it, she knew that wasn't true, because those machines weren't just attacking droids. They were observing, learning. One of them turned toward her. It was smaller than the others, but still massive. Its posture shifted, as if recalibrating. Sensors, no eyes, locked onto her position. Ahsoka felt it, not through the Force, but through intent. It was studying her.
Commander Tano," Rex's voice cut in. "We're pulling back to secondary positions. Orders?" Ahsoka didn't respond immediately. Her gaze stayed fixed on the machine, because something about it didn't feel hostile. It felt curious. "I'm going in," she said finally. "What?" Rex snapped. General Skywalker would... He's not here right now, Ahsoka cut him off. And if we don't figure out what these things are, this entire planet is lost. She didn't wait for approval. She jumped. The descent was fast. Wind tore past her as she dropped from the tower, landing hard but controlled amid the fractured battlefield. The ground still trembled with each step of the machines. Blaster fire echoed in the distance. Screams, explosions, war. But here, near this machine, it was quieter, deliberate. The mech shifted again.
Lowering slightly, as if adjusting to her level. Ahsoka deactivated one saber, but kept the other ready. "Okay," she muttered under her breath. "Let's try this the easy way." She stepped forward. The machine did not attack. Instead, a panel along its torso opened with a hiss of pressurized air. A cockpit. Someone was inside. A voice emerged, not through the Force, but through amplified external speakers. "Unidentified combatant," it said. The tone was calm, controlled, almost clinical. "You display capabilities inconsistent with local technological parameters." Ahsoka blinked. "Yeah," she replied. "I get that a lot." A pause, then. "Identify yourself?" "Ahsoka Tano, Jedi Padawan, Republic Forces." Another pause, but this one felt heavier. "Jedi," the voice repeated, or warrior, cast with mystical augmentation. That wasn't how anyone in the Republic described Jedi. Ahsoka narrowed her eyes. "Who are you?" "We are clan warriors," the voice answered. "Descendants of the true Star League. We have come to reclaim what was lost." Ahsoka felt a chill run through her. Not from fear, from recognition, not of them, but of their certainty. It was the same kind she'd seen in generals, in Jedi Masters, even in Anakin. The belief that they were right, no matter the cost. "You just dropped into the middle of a war," Ahsoka said carefully. "This galaxy already has enough problems." "Then it will be purified," the voice replied, "through strength, through order." The machine took a step closer. Ahsoka didn't move. "You are not like the others," it continued. "You fight without machines, and yet you survived." Ahsoka tilted her head slightly. "I could say the same about you. You don't use the Force, but you fight like you understand it." Another pause. Then, "Perhaps," the warrior said, "you will help us understand." Above them, the rift in space began to pulse again. More shapes moved within it, more machines, more warriors. An invasion was coming, and for the first time since the war began. Ahsoka Tano wasn't sure which side she was on. The battlefield behind her burned. The future ahead of her waited. And somewhere in the distance, Anakin Skywalker was on his way. The battlefield of Christopsis no longer belonged to the Republic or the Separatists. It belonged to something else entirely. Smoke curled upward in slow, choking spirals as shattered droid parts littered the streets like broken metal bones. Clone troopers regrouped behind crumbled barricades, their blasters lowered, not out of discipline, but uncertainty. Even the distant thunder of artillery had faded, replaced by the heavy, rhythmic footsteps of the clan machines as they repositioned across the city. Ahsoka stood alone before the open cockpit. The warrior inside had not revealed their face, but their presence carried weight, measured, analytical, utterly unshaken by the destruction around them. "You fight without hesitation," the voice said. "Yet you approached without aggression. Explain." Ahsoka crossed her arms slightly. keeping her posture relaxed, but ready. Because charging at something I don't understand usually gets people killed. A beat. A rational answer. Your turn, she said. You drop into a war zone, wipe out an army in minutes and start talking about purifying a galaxy. That's not exactly a friendly introduction. The machine's sensors adjusted again, scanning her, not just physically but behaviorally. We are not here for friendliness, the warrior replied. We are here for reclamation. Ahsoka frowned. Reclamation of what? Humanity's legacy. Before she could respond, the sky pulsed again. The rift widened. This time it didn't just release individual machines, it deployed formation. Massive vessels unlike anything in the Republic fleet pushed through the tear. They were angular, armored, brutal in design, built for war, not diplomacy. Dropships followed, descending rapidly toward the surface. The invasion had escalated. Ahsoka's grip tightened slightly on her lightsaber hilt. You're not just scouting, she said. Correct, the warrior answered. This world is now under clan jurisdiction. Ahsoka let out a slow breath. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. Across the battlefield, Republic forces began to reposition. LAAT gunships hovered cautiously at the edges of engagement range. Clone commanders barked orders, trying to establish some kind of defensive line, but it was clear they were outmatched. And watching from above. Jedi starfighters circled, including one she knew very well. Inside the cockpit of his starfighter, Anakin Skywalker's jaw tightened as he scanned the battlefield. Rex?
Report, he said sharply. General, Rex replied over comms. We've got unidentified hostiles, massive walkers, heavily armored. They wiped out the droids, but they're not distinguishing targets. We've pulled back, but... And Ahsoka? A pause. She's with them, sir? Anakin's grip on the controls tightened. Define with them. She approached one of the machines. They haven't fired on her. That was all Anakin needed to hear. I'm going in. Back on the ground, Ahsoka felt it before she saw it. The familiar presence in the Force, bright, intense, impossible to ignore. Sky Guy. She turned just as his starfighter roared overhead, banking sharply before landing hard a short distance away. The hatch opened instantly and Anakin strode out, lightsaber already in hand. His gaze locked onto the machine, then onto her.
Ahsoka, he called, his voice tight but controlled. Step away from that thing. Ahsoka didn't move. They're not attacking us, she said. They just invaded a planet in the middle of a war. Anakin shot back. That counts as attacking. The clan machine shifted slightly, its weapons rotating, not firing, but ready. Another enhanced warrior, the voice observed. Aggressive posture, emotionally reactive. Anakin's eyes narrowed. I don't like the sound of that. You're not supposed to, Ahsoka muttered. Anakin stepped forward, placing himself slightly between Ahsoka and the machine. Identify yourself, he demanded. We are clan warriors, the voice repeated. You stand in territory now claimed by our people, Anakin scoffed. Yeah! You might want to check who already lives here. Resistance is expected, the warrior replied calmly. It will be overcome. That was enough. Anakin ignited his lightsaber fully, the blue blade snapping to life with a sharp hum. We'll see about that. The machine reacted instantly. Its weapons locked onto Anakin but did not fire. Instead it spoke. Your weapon is inefficient against our armor. Anakin smirked slightly. It's not the armor I'm aiming for. For a split second, tension hung on a razor's edge. Then, "Arnie, wait!" Ahsoka stepped forward, placing herself between them. Anakin blinked. "Ahsoka, what are you doing?" "Stopping you from making this worse," she said. "We don't understand them yet." "They're invaders," Anakin snapped. "That's all we need to understand." "And what are we?" Ahsoka shot back.
We're fighting a war across the entire galaxy, taking systems, forcing control. How is that different from what they're doing? Anakin froze, not because she was wrong, but because she wasn't supposed to say it. The silence that followed was heavier than any explosion. The clan warrior observed both of them carefully. Conflict between allied units, it noted. Inefficient. Ahsoka ignored the comment, her eyes locked on Anakin. "I'm not saying we trust them," she said, softer now. "I'm saying we learn first, because if we fight them blindly—" She glanced back at the battlefield, the destroyed droid army, the untouched clan machines. "We lose." Anakin looked past her, studying the machine, calculating. For once, the odds weren't just bad. They were unknown. And that made them dangerous. High above,
more clan ships continued to arrive. The sky itself seemed to fracture under the weight of their entry. This wasn't a battle anymore. It was the beginning of something much bigger. Anakin exhaled slowly, deactivating his lightsaber, but not lowering his guard. "This isn't over," he said. Ahsoka nodded slightly. "I know." The clan warrior spoke once more. "Then perhaps," it said, "this is where understanding begins." But as Ahsoka stood between two worlds, one she had always known and one that promised something different, she felt it. A shift. Not in the battlefield, not in the war, but in herself. Because for the first time, the Jedi didn't feel like the only path forward. The standoff did not end, it evolved. The battlefield of Christophsis had become something unrecognizable, a testing ground not just of strength, but of ideology. Republic forces held their distance. Jedi starfighters remained in tight orbits above, tracking every movement of the clan war machines. No one fired, because no one understood what would happen if they did. At the center of it all stood Ahsoka, between Anakin Skywalker and something entirely new. "You hesitate," the clan warrior observed from within the towering machine. "That is inefficient in war." Anakin crossed his arms slightly, though his stance remained ready. "We don't rush into fights we don't understand." "Then you will always be reacting," the warrior replied, "never controlling." Ahsoka glanced between them. "Okay, both of you, less philosophy."
More clarity. What do you actually want?" A pause followed. Then the cockpit shifted, opening further. A figure descended. The warrior who stepped onto the battlefield was human, but not like any human Ahsoka had seen. Tall, engineered perfection in every movement. His armor was sleek but functional, marked with symbols she didn't recognize. His eyes were sharp, calculating, but not emotional in the way she was used to. "I am Star Captain Raun Vorek of Clan Jade Falcon," he said. His gaze moved from Ahsoka to Anakin, then back again. "You are both anomalies." Anakin smirked faintly. "We get that a lot." Raun ignored the comment. "You move with precognition, enhanced reflexes, combat intuition beyond training." He tilted his head slightly. Yet you rely on primitive melee weapons." Ahsoka ignited one of her sabers with a snap hiss. "Primitive works." Raun studied the blade carefully. Energy contained, but unfocused, he said. Inefficient, but adaptable. Anakin frowned. You done analyzing us like equipment? No, Raln said simply, but I will continue while we speak. Ahsoka stepped forward slightly, drawing his attention fully. You said you reclaim humanity, she said. From what? Raln didn't hesitate. Decay. He gestured outward. To the battlefield, the burning wreckage, the scattered remains of war. This galaxy is fractured, weak leadership, endless conflict without resolution. His tone remained calm, but there was conviction beneath it. You fight wars without purpose. You preserve systems that cannot sustain themselves. Anakin's expression hardened. We're trying to protect people. You are prolonging their suffering, Rallan replied. The words hit harder than they should have, because Ahsoka had thought something similar before, she just hadn't said it out loud. So your solution is conquest? She asked. Correction, Rallan said. Through strength, through unity, through the removal of those who cannot adapt. Anakin stepped forward again. That's not unity, that's domination. Raln met his gaze evenly. Your republic already dominates, you simply disguise it as peace. Silence fell again, heavy, uncomfortable, because once again, he wasn't entirely wrong. Ahsoka exhaled slowly. You don't understand this galaxy, she said. Then teach us, Raln replied immediately. That caught her off guard. You want me to help you? I want you to prove your value, he corrected. You possess abilities we cannot replicate. You understand this battlefield, this war. He stepped closer, not aggressively, but with purpose. Face one of our warriors, he said. Demonstrate your capability within our structure. Anakin's eyes snapped to Ahsoka. Don't. But Ahsoka didn't look at him. She looked at Raln. What kind of demonstration? She asked. Minutes later, the battlefield shifted again, not into chaos, into order. A clearing was established among the ruins. Clan warriors, both in and out of their machines, formed a wide perimeter. Republic forces watched from a distance, confused and uneasy. Even the droids, what remained of them, lay silent.
For the first time since the war began, there was structure to the violence. At the center stood Ahsoka. Across from her, a BattleMech, smaller than the others, but still towering, its weapons powered down, its stance lowered slightly. A trial, Raln announced, not of destruction, of skill. Anakin moved closer to the edge of the perimeter, his jaw tight. This is insane. Rex stood beside him. Orders, sir? Anakin didn't answer, because he didn't know. Ahsoka ignited both sabers. The familiar hum grounded her, but the situation didn't. She had fought droids, soldiers, Sith, but this was something else. Begin, Raln said. The mech moved first, faster than she expected. Its massive frame shifted with surprising agility, one arm swinging down, not to strike, but to test her reaction. Ahsoka moved instantly, flipping sideways, her Leku trailing behind her as she landed in a low stance. Okay, fast. The mech adjusted, then attacked again, this time with precision. Ahsoka deflected not the strike itself, but the angle, redirecting its momentum just enough to avoid impact. Sparks flew as her saber grazed its armor, but didn't penetrate. Noted. She shifted strategies, speed over strength. She darted forward, weaving between its movements, striking at joints, sensors, anything exposed. Each hit landed, but none were decisive. The armor held, but the pilot was adapting. Your movements are unpredictable, the mech's external voice said, but inefficient. Ahsoka smirked slightly as she flipped over a sweeping strike. Yeah? You're not exactly easy to hit either. The mech paused, just for a moment. Then it changed. Its movements became tighter, more controlled, less reactive, more anticipatory. It wasn't just fighting her, it was learning her. Ahsoka felt it instantly, the rhythm shifting, the pressure increasing. So she did the same. She reached deeper into the Force, not for power, but for awareness. The battlefield faded. The mech's movement slowed, not physically, but in her perception. She could see it now, the patterns, the intent. She moved, not faster, smarter. In a single fluid motion, she leapt onto the mech's arm, ran along its length, and launched herself upward, landing briefly on its shoulder before driving one saber into a vulnerable joint near the cockpit. Sparks exploded, and the mech staggered slightly, then stopped. Silence fell again. Ahsoka stood atop the machine, breathing steadily. Below, clan warriors watched without reaction, but their stillness wasn't indifference. It was evaluation. Raln stepped forward. "Enough," he said. Ahsoka pulled her saber free and flipped down to the ground. The mech powered down slightly. Raln studied her, long, carefully. Then, "You adapt quickly," he said. "You fight without fear, without hesitation." A pause, then, "You would make an exceptional warrior of the clans." Anakin stepped forward immediately. "She's not joining you." But this time, Ahsoka didn't respond right away. Because for the first time, she was actually considering it. The silence after the trial was heavier than any battle, not because of fear, because of what had just been proven. Ahsoka stood in the center of the clearing, her sabers now deactivated at her sides. The scorched plating of the BattleMech behind her still glowed faintly where she had struck it, smoke curling into the fractured air of Christophsis. Around her, the clan warriors remained perfectly still. No cheers, no reactions, only observation, only judgment. "You've seen," Star Captain Raln Vorek said, his voice carrying across both clan and Republic lines. "This one possesses capability beyond standard parameters. She learns, she adapts." His gaze shifted briefly toward the watching clone troopers, then to the Jedi starfighters above. She's not bound by your inefficiencies." Anakin stepped forward immediately, his presence cutting through the tension like a blade. "She's not yours," he said, sharply. Raln tilted his head slightly. "Ownership is not the objective, worth is." Ahsoka finally turned toward Anakin, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. The bond between them, teacher and student, brother and sister, had survived war, loss, and impossible odds. But this was different. "Ahsoka," Anakin said, his voice lower now, more controlled. "We're leaving." It wasn't a suggestion. It was an order. Ahsoka's eyes flickered, not in defiance, but in conflict. "I don't think it's that simple," she replied. Anakin's jaw tightened. "It is. These people, whatever they are, they just invaded a Republic system. We regroup. Or we call reinforcements and we push them back." "And how many people die in the process?" Ahsoka asked quietly. "That's war," Anakin snapped. That answer hung in the air like a verdict. Ahsoka took a step closer to him. "But what if it doesn't have to be?" she pressed. "What if they're not here to fight the way we do?" Anakin gestured sharply toward the battlefield, the destroyed droids, the shattered city. "You saw what they did. Yes, Ahsoka said. They ended it. That stopped him, Raln observed silently. The clones shifted uneasily. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. The Separatists are gone, Ahsoka continued. This battle, this entire front, it's over. No drawn-out siege, no reinforcements, no weeks of casualties. Her voice hardened slightly. They didn't just win, Anakin.
They finished it. And replaced it with occupation, Anakin shot back. Is that so different from what we do? She asked again. This time, he didn't have an answer ready. Because deep down, he had asked himself the same question. Roland stepped forward slightly, his presence reasserting itself in the moment. This conflict illustrates your fundamental flaw, he said. You seek to preserve systems that perpetuate weakness. Anakin turned toward him immediately. And you think wiping out anyone who disagrees makes you better? Raln didn't react emotionally. It makes us effective. When that word echoed, effective, Ahsoka closed her eyes briefly, because that was the difference. The Republic fought for ideals, the clans fought for results. And right now, results were winning. High above, Republic command ships began arriving, late, cautious, forming a distant blockade. The situation was escalating beyond the battlefield. And everyone knew it. Ahsoka, Anakin said again, more urgently now. The Council is going to get involved. This is bigger than us. I know, she said softly. Then come back, he insisted. We can figure this out together. For a moment, she almost did. But then she looked back at the clan machines, at their precision, their certainty, their lack of hesitation. And she remembered every time the Jedi Council had doubted, delayed, debated, while people died. I'm not sure the Council wants to figure it out, she said. Anakin frowned. What's that supposed to mean? It means they'll see this as a threat, Ahsoka replied.
And they'll respond the only way they know how, which is protecting the galaxy, Anakin said firmly. Or controlling it, she countered. The line had been crossed. Anakin stepped back slightly, as if the words themselves had created distance. You don't believe that, he said. Ahsoka hesitated. That was all the answer he needed. Raln's voice cut through the moment. Your internal conflict is inefficient, he said. Resolution is required. Ahsoka turned toward him. And what does resolution look like to you? Raln met her gaze directly. You choose. The simplicity of it was almost overwhelming. No council, no deliberation, no endless layers of approval. Just choice. You have demonstrated worth, Raln continued. You understand both this galaxy and the nature of war. With us, or you would not be constrained by indecision. He gestured outward again. You would shape outcomes. Anakin stepped forward again, his voice sharp with urgency. Or you become part of the problem, he said. Ahsoka, listen to yourself. They're talking about conquest. And we're not, she fired back. We're defending people. And how many worlds have we defended by occupying them? She demanded. The argument wasn't about the clans anymore. It was about everything. And it was breaking them apart. The force stirred uneasily around them, like a storm building without direction. Ahsoka could feel it, the imbalance, the shift. For the first time, the path ahead wasn't guided, it was fractured. She looked at Anakin, her mentor, her friend, her family. I'm not choosing them over you, she said quietly. Anakin's expression softened. just slightly. Then come with me. Ahsoka's gaze shifted to the clan warrior, to the machines, to the sky, still torn open, still pouring in something new. "I'm choosing something different," she said. The words landed harder than any strike. Anakin didn't move, didn't speak, because in that moment, he understood. She wasn't coming back. Raul gave a single, almost imperceptible nod. "Then you will be tested further," he said. Ahsoka turned fully toward him. "I wouldn't expect anything less." Behind her, Anakin stood in silence, not defeated, not yet. But the war had changed, and so had she. The moment Ahsoka made her choice, the battlefield seemed to shift, not physically, but in meaning. She was no longer standing between two sides. She had stepped onto one. The Republic forces began a full tactical withdrawal within minutes. Orders came down from orbit, firm, unmistakable. Clone troopers disengaged in disciplined formations, LAAT gunships lifting off under heavy escort. No one fired, because no one was ready for what came next. Anakin Skywalker didn't leave immediately. He stood at the edge of the battlefield, watching as Ahsoka walked away from him, not toward safety, not toward familiarity, but toward the clan war machines, toward something unknown. "Ahsoka," he called one last time. She stopped. For a second it looked like she might turn around, but she didn't. "Don't do this," he said, quieter now. Ahsoka's voice came back steady but not cold. "I have to." "Why?" Anakin demanded. "Because they're strong? Because they win faster?" Ahsoka finally turned slightly, not enough to face him fully, but enough to answer honestly. "Because they act," she said. "They don't wait for permission while people die." Anakin's expression hardened. "And what happens when they decide who deserves to live?" he asked. Ahsoka didn't answer, because that question didn't have a simple answer. Raul Vorek approached from behind her. "The decision has been made," he said. "Further delay is unnecessary." Ahsoka took a breath, then she walked forward again. This time, she didn't stop. High above, Republic command ships repositioned, pulling back to safer distances. The message was clear. This was no longer a standard engagement. This was the beginning of a new war. Within the hour, the clan forces established full control over Christophsis, not through chaos, through structure. Dropships deployed in precise formations, securing key infrastructure points. Communication arrays were overridden. Energy grids were stabilized, not for the Republic or Separatists, but for clan use. Everything moved with purpose. Everything had a role. Ahsoka watched it all from an elevated platform overlooking the city. There was no panic, no confusion, no conflicting orders. Just execution. "A move like a single organism," she said quietly. Raul stood beside her. "They move with clarity," he corrected. "Each unit understands its function."
There is no wasted effort." Ahsoka nodded slowly. "That's not how the Republic works." "No," Raul said. "It is why the Republic fails." She didn't argue, not this time. Below, a line of clan warriors assembled, some in armor, others preparing their BattleMechs for redeployment. Technicians worked efficiently, recalibrating systems to adapt to this galaxy's physics. Even their machines were learning. "You said I'd be tested further?" Ahsoka said. Raul glanced at her. "Correct. What does that involve?" Raul gestured toward the training grounds being established among the ruins. "Integration," he said, "understanding our doctrine, our structure, our way of war." Ahsoka crossed her arms slightly. And if I don't fit into it? Raoul met her gaze directly. Then you will be removed from it. There was no threat in his tone, only fact. Ahsoka smirked faintly. Good, I'd be worried if it was easy. Hours later, the first phase of her integration began. The training arena was unlike anything she had experienced. It wasn't just combat, it was evaluation. Multiple clan warriors entered the field, some on foot, others operating smaller combat platforms. Each one moved with precision, their attacks coordinated without communication. They weren't testing her strength, they were testing her adaptability. Begin, Raoul commanded. The assault came instantly. Blaster fire, faster, more concentrated than standard Republic weaponry, forced Ahsoka into motion. She deflected, redirected, moved, but quickly realized something critical.
And they weren't aiming to hit her, they were aiming to control her. Limit her movement. Predict her reactions. She adjusted. Instead of reacting to each attack, she shifted her focus, expanding her awareness through the Force. Not just sensing individuals, but the pattern. She moved through them, not fighting each opponent directly, but disrupting their coordination, breaking the system. One warrior fell, then another. But the pressure didn't decrease, it adapted. Ahsoka smiled slightly despite herself. "Okay," she muttered. "Now this is interesting." She pushed harder, faster, more precise. Within minutes, the arena was silent again. Clan warriors stood down, not defeated, but satisfied. Raoul approached. "You disrupt patterns effectively," he said. You do not follow predictable combat logic." Ahsoka deactivated her sabers. "I've had a lot of practice fighting things that shouldn't make sense." Raoul nodded once. "You will be assigned a role." Or that caught her attention. "A role?" Raoul gestured toward the horizon, where more clan ships were emerging through the still active rift. "This galaxy is vast," he said. "Fragmented, divided. We will require guidance." His gaze sharpened slightly. "You will provide it." Ahsoka's expression shifted. "You want me to help you invade the galaxy?" "Correct." The word landed heavily. This wasn't just about Christophsis anymore. This wasn't even about the Clone Wars. This was something bigger. "And if I refuse?" she asked. Raoul didn't hesitate.
Then you have misunderstood your position." Ahsoka held his gaze for a long moment. Then she exhaled slowly. "I'll help," she said. Not because she fully believed in them. Not yet. But because she needed to understand them from the inside, and maybe to change what they would become. Far above, hidden within the shadows of a Republic cruiser, Anakin Skywalker watched it all unfold, his fists clenched, his mind racing. Because he knew something no one else did. This wasn't just an invasion. It was the beginning of a fracture that even the Force might not be able to heal.
The war did not escalate gradually, it accelerated. Within days, the Clone Wars stopped looking like a war and started looking like a collapse. The Separatists were the first to feel it. Entire droid armies that had once required full-scale Republic campaigns to dismantle were erased in hours. Clan BattleMechs advanced across key systems with terrifying efficiency, their tactics designed not just to win, but to end resistance before it could adapt. On Ryloth, fortified droid cities fell in a single planetary rotation. On Felucia, dense jungle warfare once a nightmare for clone troopers, became irrelevant as clan forces deployed aerial bombardment patterns that reshaped entire landscapes. On Saleokami, separatist command centers vanished before evacuation protocols could even activate. At the center of it all, Ahsoka Tano. She didn't lead from a throne, she moved with the war. Inside a modified clan command carrier, its systems partially recalibrated to interface with Republic data structures, Ahsoka stood before a holographic projection of the galaxy. Systems blinked, conflicts updated in real time. And for the first time since the war began, there was clarity. "They're reacting exactly as predicted," she said, her voice focused. Raln Vorek stood beside her. "The Separatists rely too heavily on centralized command," he said. "Disrupt it, and their forces fragment." Ahsoka nodded. "And the Republic?" Raln's gaze shifted slightly. "Slower," he said, "but more resilient. They will adapt." Ahsoka crossed her arms, studying the projection. "Aye, then we don't give them time to." That was the difference now. She wasn't reacting anymore. She was deciding. "Target these systems next," she said, highlighting key hyperspace junctions. "If we control movement, we control the war." Raln observed her for a moment. "You are thinking like a clan strategist." Ahsoka didn't respond immediately, because she wasn't sure if that was a compliment. Elsewhere in the galaxy, fear was spreading. On Coruscant, the Jedi Council convened in emergency session. "The reports are consistent," Mace Windu said, his voice firm but edged with concern. "Entire systems are falling without prolonged engagement." Obi-Wan Kenobi stood nearby, his expression troubled. "And Ahsoka?" A pause followed. Yoda's ears lowered slightly. "Changed she has," he said quietly. A different path she walks." Anakin stood apart from them all, silent. "They're using her," he said finally. "No," Obi-Wan replied gently. "It appears she's working with them." That distinction didn't help. Anakin turned sharply. "Then we bring her back!" Mace Windu's gaze hardened. "If she is aiding an invading force, she may no longer be an ally." Anakin stepped forward, anger rising. "She's not the enemy." "Then prove it," Windu said, "because right now she is helping one." The line had been drawn. Back in clan-controlled space, Ahsoka felt it. The Force had changed, not disappeared, not weakened. Disturbed. It wasn't just the war, it was the speed of it, the unnatural shift in balance. She stood alone in a quiet corridor of the command carrier, eyes closed, reaching out, trying to understand what she was becoming part of, and what she might be losing. "You hesitate." Raln's voice came from behind her. Ahsoka didn't turn. "Just thinking." "Thinking delays action," he said. "And acting without thinking gets people killed," she replied. Raln stepped closer. "You have seen the results," he said. "World stabilized. Conflicts ended." Ahsoka opened her eyes, and replaced with occupation. Replaced with order. She turned now, meeting his gaze. At what cost? Raln didn't answer immediately, because for the first time there wasn't a simple answer. Before the moment could continue, alarms echoed through the ship, sharp, urgent. Ahsoka's expression shifted instantly. "What is that?" Raln activated a nearby console. A holographic display flickered to life. Incoming fleet signatures, Republic. And at the front, a familiar one. "Anakin Skywalker." "He didn't wait," Ahsoka said quietly. Raln's tone remained calm. He adapted. The battle began before either of them could say more. Republic cruisers emerged from hyperspace in tight formation, launching squadrons of starfighters and bombers. Clone pilots moved with precision, targeting key clan vessels, but the clans were ready. BattleMechs deployed directly into vacuum, magnetic anchors locking them onto hull surfaces as they returned fire with devastating accuracy. Point defense systems lit up the darkness of space. Explosions followed. Inside the chaos, Ahsoka moved. She reached the command deck as the battle intensified, her mind already processing the flow of combat. "They're targeting our jump-capable ships," she said, "trying to trap us here." Ral nodded. "Logical." "Then we break their formation," Ahsoka replied. "Force them to spread." She stepped forward, taking control of the tactical interface. For a moment, no one stopped her. "Redirect units here," she said, marking a weak point in the Republic line. "Hit them fast, then pull back. Don't engage directly. Disrupt their coordination." Clan officers moved instantly, executing her commands without question. Roln watched her carefully, not as an outsider anymore, but as something else. A weapon. The tide of battle shifted. Republic formations began to fracture under the unexpected maneuvering. Starfighters broke formation. Jedi cruisers adjusted too slowly, and in the middle of it, one ship pushed forward, ignoring the chaos. He's coming straight for us," Ahsoka said. Raln's expression didn't change. "Then he seeks resolution." Ahsoka's grip tightened slightly. "No," she said quietly. "He's seeking me." Outside, Anakin's fighter cut through the battlefield with unmatched precision, dodging fire, weaving through explosions, driven by something stronger than strategy. Determination, or something darker. Inside the command deck, Ahsoka took a slow breath, because she knew what came next. This wasn't just a battle anymore, it was personal. And this time, neither of them would walk away unchanged. The battlefield in orbit above Christophsis burned with a kind of precision the galaxy had never seen before. Republic strategy relied on coordination. The clans relied on dominance. And between them, Ahsoka Tano stood at the fault line of both. Anakin's starfighter cut through the chaos like a blade. Explosions erupted around him as clan point defense systems tried and failed to predict his movements. The Force guided him through impossible trajectories, his instincts sharpening every maneuver into something more than piloting. This wasn't just combat. It was intent. Inside the clan command carrier, Ahsoka tracked him in silence. "He's not following formation," she said. Raln stood beside her, observing the same feed. "He abandons tactical efficiency." "No," Ahsoka replied quietly. "He's focusing." "On her?"
He'll reach us," she added. Raln nodded once. "Then we prepare to receive him." Ahsoka turned sharply. "No heavy fire on that fighter." Raln's gaze shifted slightly. "You are compromising tactical advantage." "I'm preventing escalation," she said. "He is escalation." Ahsoka didn't deny it, but she didn't change her order. Outside, Anakin's fighter breached the outer defense perimeter. 2 clan interceptors moved to engage. Fast, precise, relentless. Anakin didn't slow down. He accelerated. His ship twisted through their attack patterns, weaving between incoming fire with impossible timing. One interceptor fired too early. He flipped beneath the blast, returned fire, and disabled it in a single pass. The second adjusted. So did he. Within seconds, both threats were gone. Inside the command carrier, even the clan officers paused, just briefly. Not in fear, in recognition. "He's effective," one of them muttered. Rawlin didn't respond, but he was watching more closely now. "Let him through," Ahsoka said. The command deck went still. "That is not standard protocol," Rawlin said. "I know," Ahsoka replied. "Do it anyway." A long moment passed. Then Rawlin gave a small nod. The defensive grid opened. Anakin didn't hesitate. His fighter shot forward, locking on to the carrier's primary hangar before diving straight in. The landing was anything but smooth. His ship hit the deck hard, skidding across the durasteel floor as alarms echoed through the hangar bay. Clan personnel scattered, but not chaotically. They repositioned, weapons ready, waiting.
The cockpit opened. Anakin stepped out, lightsaber already ignited. "Where is she?" he demanded. Dozens of weapons locked onto him instantly, blaster rifles, targeting systems, even mech-mounted cannons adjusted slightly toward the hangar. But no one fired. Because Ahsoka had already started walking. She entered the hangar slowly, her presence cutting through the tension like silence before a storm. Her sabers remained unlit. "Annie," she said. The word hit harder than anything else in the room. For a moment, the war disappeared. Anakin's expression shifted, not to anger, not immediately, to something else, something closer to relief. "You're okay," he said. Ahsoka gave a small nod. "I am." The moment didn't last.
His gaze hardened again as he took in his surroundings. The clan warriors, the machines, the structure. "You need to come back," he said. Ahsoka didn't answer right away. Instead, she stepped closer. "I'm not a prisoner," she said. "You know that, right?" "I know you're not thinking clearly," Anakin shot back. That stung, more than it should have. Ahsoka's expression tightened slightly. "I am thinking clearly, probably clearer than I have in a long time." Anakin shook his head. "They've gotten to you." "No," she said firmly. "I chose this." Silence. The weight of that truth settled between them. Behind Ahsoka, Rawlin entered the hangar. His presence immediately shifted the dynamic again. "You've breached our vessel," he said calmly.
Your actions indicate either recklessness or desperation." Anakin didn't even look at him. "I'm here for her," he said. Rawlin studied him. "Then you have come to the wrong place." "Or that did it." Anakin turned, his lightsaber lifting slightly. "You don't get to decide that." The air tightened, weapons adjusted, tension spiked. Ahsoka stepped between them instantly. "No," she said sharply. "We're not doing this." Anakin's eyes snapped back to her. "They're invading the galaxy, Ahsoka." "And the Republic is losing," she fired back. "Fast. That doesn't mean you join the enemy." "Maybe there isn't a clear enemy anymore." She shot back. The words echoed, because deep down, they both felt it. The war had changed. "This isn't you," Anakin said, quieter now. You don't believe in what they're doing." Ahsoka hesitated, just for a second. "I believe in ending the war," she said. "And if this is how it ends?" Anakin asked. Ahsoka met his gaze, didn't look away. then maybe it's better than letting it drag on forever. That answer broke something. Anakin stepped back slightly as if trying to process it, or reject it. "You don't mean that," he said. "I do," she replied. Behind them, Round spoke again. "This discussion is inefficient," he said. "If you intend conflict, proceed." Anakin didn't take his eyes off Ahsoka. "Is that what this is now?" he asked. "A discussion?" Ahsoka didn't answer. So he made the choice for both of them. His lightsaber ignited brighter in his grip.
Then I'm taking you back." The Force surged. Ahsoka reacted instantly. Her sabers snapped to life in twin arcs of white-blue light. And just like that, the line was crossed. The first strike came fast, precise. Ahsoka blocked it effortlessly, but the impact still drove her back a step. Anakin pressed forward, not as a Jedi, as something more dangerous. Their blades clashed again and again. Each strike carried history, trust, pain. "You don't have to do this," Anakin said, his voice strained between attacks. "Neither do you," Ahsoka countered. The duel escalated rapidly. Around them, clan warriors held position. They didn't intervene. They watched. Because this wasn't just combat. It was proof.
Or proof of who Ahsoka had become, and who she was willing to fight. The Force churned violently between them, two currents colliding, neither willing to yield. For a brief moment, Ahsoka saw it. The edge Anakin was walking, the anger beneath his control. And it scared her. Not because she couldn't face him, but because she recognized it too clearly. Their blades locked, faces inches apart. "Come back," Anakin said, almost pleading now. Ahsoka's voice softened, but didn't break. "I can't." She pushed off, breaking the clash, because she knew this wasn't the end of the fight, it was just the beginning. The duel did not resolve. It escalated into something far more dangerous. Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano moved across the clan hangar like opposing storms, each strike reshaping the space around them. Sparks erupted where their blades collided with durasteel walls, energy shields flickering as nearby systems struggled to compensate for the Force pressure building between them. This was no longer training, no longer debate. It was history breaking apart in real time. "You're being manipulated!" Anakin shouted as he pressed forward with a rapid sequence of strikes. "They're using you to justify an invasion." Ahsoka deflected each blow with precision, stepping backward only when necessary. "I'm not being used," she snapped back. "I'm making choices you don't want to understand." The Force surged between them.
Not as harmony, but as friction. Anakin lunged again, stronger now, less controlled. Ahsoka felt it immediately, the shift, the edge creeping into his movements. She blocked, pivoted, and redirected his blade downward, forcing him to stumble slightly. "Stop!" she said sharply. "You're losing focus." "I'm focused on saving you," he shot back. That hit harder than any strike. For a brief moment, Ahsoka hesitated, just long enough for Anakin to press advantage. Their blades locked again, forcing them into close proximity. "You don't see what they are," Anakin said, through gritted teeth. "They're not just another faction. They're an invading force with no accountability, no restraint." "And the Republic has restraint?" Ahsoka interrupted. That stopped him. Not physically,
But emotionally, because he didn't have a clean answer, not anymore. Behind them, Raln Vorek observed the duel without intervening. His expression remained unreadable, but his attention was absolute. "This conflict is inefficient," one of the clan officers muttered nearby. Raln responded calmly. "No," he said, "it is informative." Ahsoka broke the lock, spinning away from Anakin and creating distance. Her chest rose and fell steadily, but her mind was sharper than ever. She wasn't just reacting anymore, she was reading him. And what she saw scared her more than the duel itself. Anakin wasn't just angry, he was afraid of losing her, afraid of change he couldn't control, afraid of a future where she didn't stand beside him.
Hey, and that fear was pushing him closer to something else, something unstable. "Annie," she said more softly, lowering her stance slightly. "This isn't you." Anakin's grip tightened. "You keep saying that," he said. "But I am me." A pause, then quieter. "I just refuse to lose you." That landed differently, heavier, more human. Ahsoka's expression softened for a fraction of a second. Then she steadied herself again. "I'm not lost," she said. "I'm just not where you expected me to be." Anakin's gaze flickered. Conflict, pain. Then resolve hardened again. "And I'll bring you back anyway." He attacked again, faster, less predictable. This time, Ahsoka had to fully commit. She disengaged from defense and moved into counter-offense, twisting under his strike.
Striking his wrist guard just enough to redirect his saber path. The clash echoed through the hangar. But something was changing. Not the duel, not yet. Anakin's emotions were bleeding into the Force more clearly now. The air itself felt heavier, more volatile. And Ahsoka felt it, the imbalance, the edge. "Anakin, stop!" she shouted as she narrowly avoided another strike. "You're not thinking straight." "I'm thinking perfectly clearly," he snapped. But he wasn't. Because clarity doesn't shake, it doesn't tremble, it doesn't push harder when it should pull back. Raln raised a hand slightly, and for the first time, clan warriors subtly adjusted positions, not to intervene, but to contain. They were preparing for escalation. Ahsoka realized it instantly.
"Oh no," she said, under her breath. She had to end this now. She shifted tactics, no longer matching Anakin's strike for strike. Instead, she focused on rhythm disruption, flow breaking, misalignment. She stepped inside his guard during his next strike and tapped the side of his wrist, not enough to injure, just enough to disrupt timing. His saber faltered. Just a fraction. But that fraction mattered. Ahsoka moved behind him, placing her saber near, but not against, his back. A controlled ending position, a restraint. The duel froze. Silence returned to the hangar. Only the hum of lightsabers filled the space. Anakin didn't move, neither did she. "I don't want to hurt you," Ahsoka said quietly. Anakin's voice came low. "Then don't." A long pause.
Ahsoka lowered her saber slightly, just a little, and that was enough. The tension didn't disappear, but it shifted. Raln stepped forward. "Conclusion achieved," he said calmly. Neither Jedi reacted. Ahsoka deactivated her saber fully. Anakin followed a second later, but reluctantly. But the damage wasn't gone. It had just paused. "You think this ends here?" Anakin asked quietly. Ahsoka shook her head. "No," she said. "I don't." Their eyes met, and everything unspoken between them filled the space. Then Anakin stepped back, not defeated, not reconciled, but changed. "I'll come back for you," he said. Ahsoka didn't respond, because she knew he would, and because part of her wasn't sure what she would do when he did. As Anakin turned and walked away, clan forces made no move to stop him. The hangar doors opened, his ship waited. He left, and silence returned. Raln finally spoke. "You hesitated at the end." Ahsoka didn't look at him. "I ended it." "That is not what I observed." She turned slightly. "Then you weren't watching the same fight." Raln studied her carefully. "You are not fully aligned." Ahsoka exhaled. "No," she admitted. "I'm not." That answer didn't surprise him, but it interested him more than anything else, because now she was unpredictable. And in war, that meant everything. The aftermath of the duel did not feel like victory. It felt like imbalance. In the hours after Anakin Skywalker's departure, the clan command carrier drifted silently above Christophsis, its hull illuminated by distant battlefield fires and Republic retreat formations. No celebration followed, no relief. Only recalibration. Ahsoka stood alone in the observation chamber, staring out at the fractured planet below. Entire districts were now under clan control. Republic forces were regrouping beyond orbit, Separatist remnants were scattering into deep space, and the Clone Wars were no longer the same war. "You are unsettled," Raln Vorek's voice said behind her. Ahsoka didn't turn. "I'm fine." A pause. "That is inaccurate." She finally glanced back at him. "Oh, you're getting good at reading people," she said. "I was designed to read battlefields," he replied. "People are simply more complex terrain." Ahsoka let out a quiet breath and turned fully toward him. "That wasn't just a battle," she said. Raln tilted his head slightly. "It was a necessary correction of resistance." "No," she said firmly. "It was personal." Raln didn't deny it. That alone confirmed too much. Ahsoka stepped away from the window. "You saw what happened," she continued. "Anakin didn't come here to negotiate. He came to take me back." Raln nodded. "Predictable." "But not controllable," she said. "Correct." That word hung between them. Ahsoka crossed her arms slowly. "That makes him dangerous to your plans." Raln regarded her carefully.
It makes him significant." The distinction mattered more than she liked. Elsewhere in the galaxy, the consequences of that significance were already unfolding. On Coruscant, the Jedi Council stood in tense silence as new holo-transmissions arrived. Entire systems once thought stable were now shifting allegiance, or being forced into submission by clan forces advancing with surgical precision. Mace Windu's expression was rigid. "They are not simply winning battles," he said. "They are reorganizing entire sectors." Obi-Wan Kenobi frowned, and Ahsoka is still with them. Yoda closed his eyes slowly. "Changed she has become," he said, "but lost she is not." Anakin's absence from the chamber was conspicuous and intentional, because he was no longer asking permission.
He was preparing something else. Back aboard his ship, Anakin Skywalker stared at hyperspace charts alone. His jaw was tight. His thoughts were sharper than they had been in years. He replayed the duel again and again, not to analyze Ahsoka's movements, but his own. The moment he hesitated, the moment she stopped him, the moment she didn't leave with him. Something had shifted, not just in her, in him, and that realization scared him more than the clans ever could. "They're accelerating their expansion," Rex said over comms. "We're losing ground faster than expected." Anakin didn't respond immediately, because he wasn't thinking about the war anymore, not directly. He was thinking about Ahsoka and what she had said about order, about efficiency, about ending the war, about whether the Republic deserved to win it at all. That thought lingered too long, too dangerously, because somewhere deep inside, he didn't fully disagree. Back on the clan carrier, Ahsoka entered the tactical chamber. Raln followed. "The Republic will escalate," she said. "Yes," he replied, "and the Jedi Council won't accept this. They will resist." Ahsoka studied the holographic projection of incoming Republic fleet movements. "And you're ready for that?" Raln's answer was immediate. "We are always ready." That confidence should have reassured her. It didn't. Instead, it deepened the unease she couldn't quite name. Because this wasn't just expansion anymore, it was shaping, and she was part of it. She pointed toward a cluster of systems on the hologram. "These worlds are going to become flashpoints," she said. "Republic strongholds won't fall easily here." Raln observed her closely. "Your strategy accounts for resistance." "I'm accounting for reality," she corrected. Raln nodded slightly. "You think like a clan commander now?" Ahsoka hesitated. "That's not what I intended." But even as she said it, she wasn't entirely sure it was true, because she was adapting faster than she wanted to admit, and that meant something dangerous. Change wasn't happening around her anymore. It was happening through her. A new alert flashed across the tactical display. Raln turned instantly. "Republic fleet movement detected." Ahsoka stepped closer.
This fast?" The hologram expanded, a large-scale mobilization, multiple task forces, and at the center, a single command signature. "Anakin Skywalker. He's coordinating independently," she said quietly. Raln observed the data carefully. "He is no longer acting under full council direction." Ahsoka frowned slightly. "That's not like him." Raln looked at her. "On the contrary," he said, "it is precisely like him." Ahsoka didn't respond because she understood what he meant. Anakin didn't follow systems, he followed outcomes. And now he had chosen his outcome. Ahsoka stepped back slightly. "He's coming again?" Raln nodded. "Yes." A pause, then Ahsoka spoke quietly. "This time, it won't just be us talking." Raln's voice was calm. "No. This time, it will be decisive." The galaxy itself seemed to tighten in response. Every faction now knew the Clone Wars were no longer a three-way conflict. They were becoming something else entirely. Ahsoka turned back toward the viewport. The stars beyond Christophsis no longer felt distant. They felt like pressure, like expectation. And somewhere in that pressure was Anakin and everything they had not yet destroyed in each other.
The Republic fleet arrived like a verdict. Hyperspace fractured across the edge of the Christophsis system as dozens of cruisers, frigates, and carrier escorts emerged in tight formation. Their arrival was not chaotic, it was disciplined, deliberate, and unmistakably final. At the center of the formation, Anakin Skywalker's command vessel. On the clan carrier, alarms did not sound immediately. They didn't need to. Every sensor, every tactical display, every forward-facing viewport confirmed the same truth. This was not a skirmish fleet. This was a resolution fleet. Ahsoka stood motionless in the command chamber. Raln Vorek was beside her. Neither spoke at first, because there was nothing to clarify. "They've committed fully," Ahsoka said, quietly. Raul nodded once. "Yes." A pause. Then Ahsoka exhaled slowly. "This is bigger than Christophsis now." Raul's gaze remained fixed on the incoming formation. It has been for some time. The Republic fleet tightened its formation. Then the transmission came. Mace Windu's voice filled the chamber, calm but absolute. "Unidentified clan forces, you are operating illegally within Republic space. Stand down immediately and prepare for boarding." Ahsoka closed her eyes briefly, then opened them. "They're not going to negotiate," she said. Raul replied simply, "No." Another transmission followed, but this one cut through everything else. Anakin Skywalker. "Ahsoka," his voice came through, steady but strained. "Last chance. Come with us. We end this before it gets worse." Silence followed. Not from the channel. From her. Because this wasn't the same conversation anymore. This wasn't about misunderstanding. It wasn't even about ideology. It was about inevitability. Ahsoka stepped forward to the console. "I can't," she said softly. A pause. Then Anakin replied, quieter now. "I know." That answer hit harder than anything else, because it wasn't anger, it wasn't denial, it was acceptance. Raul observed both sides carefully. "This exchange is complete," he said. Ahsoka didn't look away from the transmission. "No," she said, "it's not." But even as she said it, she knew it was. The Republic fleet began its advance. Clan vessels responded instantly. Space erupted. Turbo laser fire lit the void like collapsing stars. Clan BattleMechs deployed into space again, anchoring themselves onto hulls as they engaged boarding formations with brutal efficiency. Fighter squadrons clashed in spirals of fire and debris, but this battle wasn't about control of a system anymore. It was about final answers. Ahsoka moved before she consciously decided to. She was already in motion. "I'm going out there," she said. Raul didn't stop her. "Why?" he asked. Ahsoka paused, then answered honestly. "Because if this ends without me there, neither of them will ever forgive what happens next." Raul studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Then go." She moved fast, not as a Jedi Knight, not as a clan commander. As herself. Ahsoka launched from the carrier in a small interceptor craft, breaking through defensive lines and diving directly into the battlefield. Around her, war unfolded in full scale. Explosions rippled through space, fractured cruisers rotated under fire, squadrons scattered and reformed in desperate patterns. But she didn't engage, she searched, and she found him. Anakin's fighter cut through the chaos again, pushing deeper than tactical logic allowed. He wasn't coordinating the fleet anymore. He was leading from the front, just like always. Ahsoka intercepted him near the outer wreckage field. Their ships locked onto each other instantly. "Annie!" she called over comms. He responded immediately. "I'm here." A pause, then Ahsoka said it. "This has to stop." Anakin didn't hesitate. "It will." But not in the way she wanted. But they both knew it. They broke formation simultaneously and met in the center of the debris field, far from the main battle, suspended between burning wreckage and drifting metal. Two ships, two choices, two paths that refused to align. Anakin opened his channel again. "Come back with me," he said. "Not as a Jedi, not as anything the Council decides, just come back." Ahsoka's grip tightened on her controls. "I can't undo what I've seen," she replied. "I'm not asking you to," Anakin said. "I'm asking you to come home anyway." That word, home, faltered something inside her, but only briefly, because she knew what home meant now. It wasn't a place, it was a choice, and she had already made hers. "I'm trying to end the war," she said. Anakin's voice hardened slightly. "And I'm trying to save you." A long silence passed between them. Then the galaxy moved again. A Republic cruiser fired on a clan vessel behind Ahsoka's position. The blast missed its target, but forced her ship to veer. Instinct took over. Anakin reacted instantly, moving to cover her trajectory without thinking. And for a brief second, they were aligned again. Just not in the way either of them wanted. Ahsoka noticed it. So did he. And that realization hurt more than anything else. "This isn't working," she said quietly. Anakin didn't argue. He just said, "No." "Then me," he made his final choice. "I can't lose you," he said, and accelerated forward into the battlefield, not away from her, not toward safety, but toward the center of everything, toward resolution. Ahsoka watched him go, and for the first time since this began, she didn't follow immediately, because she understood something now. This war would not end with strategy, or orders, or even victory. It would end with consequence. She turned her ship and followed. The final convergence had begun. Above Christophsis, the Clone Wars did not resolve. They transformed into something no one in the galaxy would ever forget. And at the heart of it all, Ahsoka Tano and Anakin Skywalker moved toward the same point. From opposite sides of destiny, the battle over Christophsis did not end with a clear victor. Instead, it became the turning point where the Clone Wars ceased to be a struggle between Republic and Separatists and became a fracture in the galaxy itself. Ahsoka Tano's alliance with the clan warriors had reshaped warfare into something faster, colder, and more decisive, forcing the Republic to evolve or collapse. Anakin Skywalker's refusal to accept that change pushed him beyond the Council's control, transforming him from Jedi General into an independent force of will, driven by something more personal than duty. Between them, the clans were no longer outsiders. They were a rising power, reshaping systems, forcing order through conquest and precision. And the Jedi Order, once the stabilizing center of the galaxy, now faced a truth they could no longer delay. The war was no longer something they could contain. As Ahsoka followed Anakin into the heart of the final convergence, the Force itself seemed uncertain, pulled between loyalty, fear, and transformation. Nothing was resolved. Everything had changed, and somewhere beyond the battlefield, unseen forces within the galaxy began to take notice of the imbalance forming in the Force. Because this was no longer just a war, it was the beginning of a new order.